Do you like wholesomeness? Do you like trauma? Then do I have the new Summer 2026 anime for you. This is the review and reaction to episode 1 and episode 2 of Jaadugar, A Witch in Mongolia. Now, what is up? My name is Mark. Welcome back. And I definitely apologize for butchering the first name. It's not a word I know how to pronounce, honestly. Feel free to give me pointers in the comments, but I just finished reacting for almost 2 hours to episode 1 and episode 2. Check out the reaction and Patreon down below. I might have put previews at the beginning of this video, I'm not quite sure. But if I didn't, go check out the Patreon. And then come back here for the review. Or check out the review, then go see my 2-hour-long reaction. You don't want to miss it because, dude, it was a roller coaster. But with that said, if you're new here, strap in. If you've been here before, you know what to do. Grab your snacks, grab your drinks, grab your notebooks, because I took quite a bit of notes. And let's talk about the episodes. Let's talk about the episodes. Because there are 2 episodes to talk about. Because, of course, they have to do batch releases. I will never understand. Small tangent. I will never understand why anime like to do, batch releases. I'd rather, instead of 2 separate episodes, just make it one long episode, 30-35 minutes long. Instead of doing 2 separate episodes. What's the point? Wouldn't it be easier to just make it one long episode than make everything else like the usual? I don't know, man. I don't get it. I'll probably never understand. But with that said, this episode, the first episode, starts out with a woman asking if it's possible to use geometry to determine the size and scope of the fate we hold in our hands. Yeah, I didn't expect that as a starter either. Because, for reference, I knew nothing about this show going into it. I was completely flabbergasted throughout this show, throughout the first 2 episodes. What I do have heard, though, is that to some people, they equate this to being similar in ways to orb on the movements of the earth. I've never seen that either, but I do know that's, deeply philosophical and stuff. So, I was kind of prepared, but I was also not prepared, man. Meanwhile, moving on, we get to see a woman in black, in a black outfit. She's walking through the bazaar, which I believe that's kind of like a marketplace, if I had to guess. And I mentioned this, I appreciate when the bazaar or when marketplaces are like hustling and bustling and full of people. I like when there's life in the scenes of these kind of places. But anyways, the woman in black, we later learn that her name is Fatima, Lady Fatima. She's currently in an Ida mourning period for her late husband. I'm not sure what Ida means exactly, but what I do know is that she's in mourning, which that's at least they're clear about that. And but because she's currently in her mourning period, she's not able to go into the bazaar and stuff and buy stuff for some reason. I'm not quite sure. This whole everything is brand new territory for me. It's vastly different from almost any other anime I've seen. So there's that. But in the meantime, what she's there for today is she hopes that Allah will lead them to a fine slave, although I also wrote down servant because I'm not sure if at this point in time, in this period of time, if there is a difference between servant and slave, or feel free to give me information and fill me in on stuff like that. I'm happy to take information and learn. But she also says that they will not be as fine as the lady with her. So fair enough, I guess. And Lady Fatima, she ends up at a place where there are a bunch of other people, and she ends up buying a niece who's skilled at cleaning, because they need to do a lot of cleaning to clean up what her late husband left behind and stuff like that. Fair enough. And but Ahmad wants Ahmad is the guy selling the girls, Oh, also, probably forgot to mention that we did get a scene of the main character, her running away, but she gets captured by Ahmad. But anyways, Ahmad offers Amis for half price, which instead of 800, he wants 400. In exchange, he wants Lady Fatima to let Satara, which is the main character's name, learn in her scholarly home. And I'm not sure why at the time, but fair enough. And also, Satara apparently means star, which that's cool. Not sure if that's going to be like a foreshadowing for anything, but it means star. And so there's that. And so, where are we? Moving. I have so much stuff written down, bro. I gotta figure out where we are. But in the meantime, Lady Fatima says okay. And so she takes Satara and Anis back to her home. And Fatima's like, yo, brother, teach her. And so her brother, who's a teacher apparently, tries to teach Satara, but unfortunately, it seems that doesn't to not work. I will say, he seems chill, so that's cool. And so, they decide initially that they're gonna like give her back to Ahmad, for like because like she's hopeless apparently, can't be taught. But turns out Satara was faking being inept, and so she waited for her chance for them to leave, and so she tried to escape because she wants to escape back home. She doesn't want to be sold off to some random unknown place, which honestly completely valid. Genuinely completely valid, man. And as she gets lost, unfortunately, and so she's walking outside, crawling around, trying to not be seen. But at one point, she sees someone, a boy, and he is his name is Muhammad. He's like the son of Fatima, I believe. Yeah, they're mother and son. I don't know why I was like uncertain, and I'm pretty sure they are. But he's like he has like a lot of knowledge. He's very curious, very smart. We also learn, and as she's going to check to go see him and find the way out, her hair covering came off, and when she goes to see him and he sees her and asks where how she can get out, he tells her that it's improper for a female to show off her hair to a man without the hair covering. And I'm gonna be honest here, I'm not sure why that's improper. Like, I'm not, I'm aware, I know I already knew that from, like, TV shows and just stuff in general, from just existing and, like, seeing the news. Well, maybe not, I don't actually watch the news, actually. But from just, like, seeing everything in the world and stuff, like, I knew that was a thing. I still don't know why it's a thing, honestly. So feel free to give me info in the comments down below as to why that's a thing. What's so, like, why is it so, like, you can't show your hair? Because that's such a specific and almost seems like an unimposing thing to, like, be, like, worried about showing off. I don't get it, personally. But, anyways, that doesn't matter. Unfortunately, she gets caught. And, he snitched on her about looking for the, exit. Which, can't blame him, personally. And so, meanwhile, they're back in, the room. And Satara's crying now because she wants to go back to where she lived with her mom. And her mom died, and her mom's master sold Satara off after she died. Which sucks, man, if you think about it. Like, your mother dies and then you're immediately sold off. Like, damn, man. That kind of sucks. And, yeah. But then the one lady whose name is escaping me right now. She tries to like explain the goods, like how like because of what they like should not expect things. They should just like do what they're told. Like this is their new home, stuff like that. And but she doesn't want to study because if Satara studies, then she'll become smart, and then Ahmad will sell her off. So she's like avoiding studying. But then young Master Muhammad explains a different way to look at studying by using a bucket and dropping it from a roof and giving it a giant dent and scaring a bunch of people and stuff. And so, with that said, that actually worked, surprisingly. And Satara ends up staying at the scholarly household and learning, which I'm not sure if I should be happy or not. Because, like, on the one hand, yeah, I'm glad that she's, like, ready to learn and stuff like that, and seems to be, like, growing. But at the same time, I'm not sure if I should be happy about the fact that she's now becoming able to be sold off. like are we supposed to cheer for her at the fact that while she is gaining the knowledge and stuff and feeling, like, more in tune with the world and stuff, but at the same time at the cost of being potentially sold off in the future? Like, if that makes sense. Anyways, we now get a montage of Satara's life with the family. It's wholesome, fun, learning, and she's learning. She's, like, becoming better. And I wrote down too wholesome. Little did I know that I was gonna be right on the money about how this is way too wholesome, bro. Also, we get to see Lady Fatima in a different outfit that's not the black outfit that she was mourning in. And she looks very pretty, which, very true. And this is her first day back at the hammam baths. I do not know what those are. When they showed a visual, it just seems like a normal bath, but just for the women? Is there, like, a special significance to the word hammam that I'm missing? I don't know. But yeah. Anyways, moving on, we get to then see a conversation occur between Muhammad and Satara, and Muhammad starts to talk about how he and his law teacher have different views, and his law teacher says that he's too ignorant to the world, and then he also does not give clear answers to questions that Muhammad asks. And he says that he's, like, too ignorant to understand. And I guess that's why he doesn't give answers, but that doesn't make sense, because too ignorant to understand, wouldn't it be a teacher's job to help him not be so ignorant and help him understand? Wouldn't a teacher be glad that a student's asking questions? That's what I think. I feel like a teacher would be happy that a student is asking all these questions and being super curious and stuff. But what do I know? I'm not a teacher. In fact, I was not a great student at school, bro. I got into trouble a lot early on. And then I ended up dropping out and getting my GED in 12th grade. Then I even went to college for a moment. For a couple weeks. It was okay. But, like, but the point is, I'm not a teacher person. I'm not that kind of stuff. So, like, I don't know anything, apparently, I guess. But we also get to learn that after all that, Muhammad, he says that he intends to go on a journey. He wishes to travel to Nishapur and to visit its renowned teachers. And I asked the question of, is he allowed to do that? Because I have no idea if he's allowed to visit the, like, go there or not. I don't know if there are rules for, like, a child leaving to, like, go to a random city. But moving on. Anyways. Moving on. he also plans to visit many cities in search of the truth, which is completely valid, I think, because he's not restricting himself or his curiosity, which that's good. I'm glad that he's like not restricting himself like that, because like for someone like him, it makes sense that he would not want to be tied down and would not want to restrict himself. But then also, he says that he believes that's the path his father, who was also a scholar, wants for him, which probably true. It's a shame that the father's dead. We never got to meet him. He sounds interesting. But Satara, she appears happy for him on the surface, but then she leaves, and it turns out she wants to match him, but she doesn't, in other words, she does not want to be left behind by him. And that's damn, man. And then, the next scene after that, he's already leaving, bro. Satara's sad, of course. But before he leaves, as he's leaving, he's like, oh, I have an idea. Then he turns, he goes back to Satara, and he says, he asks her if she knows how to read. She doesn't. And so he says that he's going to start writing simple letters to her that he wants her to read to his mother. And writing these letters to her will not only help her get better at reading and encourage her to like continue learning and stuff, but it will also help him practice teaching people, because he's going to be teaching young children like her and stuff like that when he's older. So like, it's a win-win, if you ask me. And he tells her to never stop learning. Words to live by, man. And so as he leaves, he says goodbye. The narrator then hits us right at the moment of like, oh, this is so sweet. The narrator hits us with, this will be their last meeting face to face. But he will go on to apparently become a great scholar. And I have questions about that. But we're not there quite yet. Meanwhile, after that scene, 8 years pass for some strange reason, and Satara still looks the same. Genuinely, I don't even think she gained a single inch of height. Which is funny. But we get to see the militia, the Tooth militia, is planning to go scout outside the city because they saw armed nomads. And so I had questions about the nomads and stuff. I spent a solid few minutes asking questions in the reaction about them. I'm not going to harp on them now, because I don't want us to be here forever. I do want you to go check out the reaction as well. But, anyways, they have a letter, and Muhammad is learning a lot, as he says. He's learning about science, medicine, and a lot of other stuff, and he's also learning stuff. He's learning stuff outside of the conservative theology that they believe in currently. And so, also, in the militia, the blonde woman, whose name is escaping me at the moment. I have it written down somewhere, but I'll get to that in a little while. The blonde woman, her little brother, I think it's her little brother. He's in the militia too, which fair enough, I guess. And so Satara's in the letter that they got also, it said for Satara to learn about Euclid and telemetry. Something, it was Euclid and then something else. I can't quite remember what it was. And so they go to the library that they have in their home, because of course they have a library. And so she's learning about books and stuff, and it turns out astrology catches her interest thanks to Fatima being really cool and knowing a lot of stuff. And so there's a lot of math stuff that's talked about, numbers and stuff. A lot of it went over my head, honestly. I'm not a math guy. I'm not a geometry, stuff like that. And so the next scene is we learn that a little meeting's called among the family and everyone there. And apparently the Tooth militia was defeated by the nomads. And I asked the simple question, how? And that's how they ended the episode 1. Meanwhile, let's move on to episode 2. And so we learn that Satara and Fatima are told to hide in the cellar while the uncle and them are going to like hide somewhere else. I'm not sure why they didn't just bring Fatima and Satara with them. Or at least Fatima, because she's kind of like the head of the house now, right? The head of the family in a way. Unless the uncle is there, I guess. But like, she's like important. Why wouldn't they bring, well actually no. No, let me know now. It makes sense. But like, in the moment, it would have made sense to bring her, wouldn't it? I feel like. And I did ask the question, how did the Nomads lose? I mean, how did the Nomads win against the militia? But then I asked a more pertinent question. Are the militia, like, by the definition of militia, just like volunteers that picked up weapons? Or when they say militia, do they actually mean like an army, like an organized army of the city? That's a very important question because there's a very big distinction. And if it's like the actual like militia of just volunteers, that would explain why they lost in a way. But at the same time, I feel like they should have the numbers, right? Because they're a giant city. And they probably have a lot of fighting age men. At the very least, they should have enough meat shields to not lose. But anyways, they're sitting down there, just Satara and Fatima. And I asked of course, I asked the question of, are the Nomads looking for Euclid? Because Fatima brought up how that's like, she has to protect those volumes because that's what her husband has been collecting, the volumes of Euclid. And I can't believe that I was right about that. I was. It's spoiler, I guess, but I was right about that. And Fatima ends up talking to Satara about Muhammad, and says that Muhammad takes after his father. Not surprising, because he's also a scholar. And that he was bridled at the restrictions of conservative theology. Valid. Again. Like, again, I don't think it's a good thing to limit yourself or restrict your ability to learn and learning new things. If it's possible for you to. I don't think it's a good thing to do that. There's nothing wrong with gaining more knowledge, if you ask me. That's what I think. And I also think that all the others are all dead. I had also made that theory that they're probably dead, or prediction. And turns out, they might not be dead, but the Nomads found them. They thought that it was the uncle and the others like opening the cellar, but nope. It's the Nomads, and the boss guy, he's smirking. But before that, also, Fatima says that only before they were found, Fatima says that only one person can support Muhammad because of his like desire to like learn and embrace differences. That he'll face a lot of resistance, and that only one person can support him. And she says it's Satara. And on the surface, that's sweet. But on the surface, but when you think about it and think about what the narrator said, kind of bittersweet if you think about it. Because according to the narrator, they never meet face to face again. So, what's the point of telling us that if we know that they're never going to meet face to face again? Is it just rub in our face that we're not going to get a happy ending? And, but anyways, moving on. The Nomad leader guy, he's smirking, and he's happy, and he talks about how the he was actually there for the Euclid, the book. That's what they were looking for. And we learned that the Nomad leader is the son of Genghis Khan, which the least surprising thing, because Genghis Khan had like he has a lot of descendants, a lot of children. So like this is the least surprising thing, but at the same time, it's like at least I did also say at least he wasn't like he wasn't Genghis Khan. He was the son. I do appreciate. Hold on, I want to just check something. I do appreciate that, like, he's the son of Genghis Khan, not Genghis Khan, because he doesn't look like Genghis Khan. he also doesn't look old enough to be leading an army, if you ask me. And there's the boy that's with the leader, the son of Genghis Khan, whose name we don't know still. He understands both languages, the language that the nomads are speaking and the language that Satara speaks as well. And so he's translating things, and he's like, and because Satara, she's upset that he's taking the book that's precious to Fatima. But Fatima's like, don't resist, just let it happen. But she's a kid, so she's not going to listen, obviously. And so she yells out and calls him a thief and to return that book. And so that happens. But then the guy's like, yo, you need to learn some fear, and proceeds to have her killed. But before she can be killed, guess what? Guess. You know it. Fatima jumps in there and saves her by letting herself get killed. And the problem I have with that, I don't have a problem with it. But what I do have a problem with is that I hate that I'm pretty good at predictions sometimes. Because at the beginning of the episode, the uncle was like, told Satara to protect Fatima. And I said out loud in the reaction that it's definitely not going to happen. It's going to be the other way around. I hate that I was actually spot on with that. But Fatima protects Satara and gets a giant slash across the back, and it was bloody, bro. Like, very, very bloody. And she dies, unfortunately, but she says something heartbreaking before she dies. She says, "Don't you dare touch my daughter." And I'm just like, what the fuck, man? That's depressing. That's how she dies. She dies protecting the girl that she considers her daughter. That's how the fuck with just Satara's head as well, though. Hearing that. But after that, the city. After that, she's captured, of course, taken hostage, and we get to see the city is destroyed. Like, they're showing, they're overlaying. They're starting out with like the city bright and happy to just death and destruction. Which, I mean, it's great storytelling to show that without telling us what's going on. But it's also dark, man. Meanwhile, moving on, we end up learning that the only people still alive that we know of are Anis, Zumurud, Zamurad, Zu, the blonde woman, and Satara. They're the only ones left. Because they were separated from the uncle. And the uncle's probably dead too, if I had to guess. And Zu, unfortunately, also had to see her brother get executed. And so, like, it's just a bad situation, man. I called it. I knew that it was too wholesome early on. I knew it. I was waiting for the other shoe to drop and for the trauma to happen, man. I was even questioning, is this the kind of show that would get dark enough like that? And I mean, I kind of expected it to get dark because like slaves and all that. But at the same time, I'll be honest, the art style, it kind of baited me into thinking that it might not be so dark. But boy, was I wrong. And Satara, unfortunately, is refusing to eat. And because she blames herself for Fatima dying. Which, okay. Technically, technically it is kind of her fault. Kind of. Because she didn't have to say anything. If we're being completely technical here, she did not have to say anything. But she did. And so technically, one could argue, and that one person being Satara, one could argue that it is kind of her fault because she spoke up. But at the same time, I then brought up the idea of Satara should not like let herself die. She shouldn't starve herself, because then that would make Fatima's death worthless. That would make her dying pointless. Because if Satara just ends up letting herself die afterwards because Fatima died before saving her, that just kind of it defeats the whole purpose. That's what I would have told Satara, or had someone tell her. But then Anise, who's the GOAT, by the way, for now, she reminds Satara that Muhammad is still out there, apparently. And only he can judge if she is responsible for Fatima's death. And the reason for that is because Anise proceeds to explain how slaves don't hold any responsibility. And so, only the masters can, determine, their punishment, determine if they're guilty or responsible, I guess. It didn't go over my head, per se, but it did raise questions of, some clarification would be nice. So feel free to let me know in the comments down below. But, Muhammad's still out there, and turns out, that was enough to get Satara motivated, which is not surprising. Because she definitely has a thing for Muhammad. Let's be completely real here. And so, eventually, the caravan arrives in a place called Turokan, a giant group of tents that were pitched up. And I mentioned that it was actually, I'm honestly impressed with the idea of people being able to live fully in cities of tents like this back then. I think that's pretty cool. Being able to live like that, man. I wouldn't be able to do it right now. Maybe. With enough training, I might be able to. Maybe. I don't know. But, as they arrive, they are, being led into the city. They run into some other, people there now. And so they, exchange information about where they're from. Turns out, and this is the cherry on top, the nomads even sacked Nishapur, which, you're joking, right? Because that's where Muhammad is. But at the same time, I brought up the thought of, technically, isn't Muhammad still alive? Because that's what the narrator said, that he would go on to become a renowned scholar. But at the same time, I then brought up a counter to that, my own argument of, maybe they only meant within those 8 years that passed that he becomes a renowned scholar. I don't know. But I feel like he's probably still alive. But then also, when I learned that they had sacked Nishapur, I legitimately laughed out loud at how absurd this situation is. Satara just could not win at all, bro. And the only people that were spared from the city were the craftsmen. And so, that's insane. And for his Zumurud, she also died now. Because, learning that, literally everyone's dead. It kind of fucks with someone, man. And so she just died peacefully. And then, was buried nicely. And then I also wrote down what the fuck happened to the wholesomeness. And then I also said, I want a refund. I didn't sign up for this trauma, man. But then also now, on top of everything else, Anise decides to go and die as well. She lunges at a nomad warrior who kills her instantly, bro. So now Satara's alone. And so I also wrote down, I can't blame Anise personally. On the one hand, yeah, I wish she had left. She didn't do that because Satara's now literally alone with no one as far as she knows, or as far as we know even. But at the same time, Anise kept seeing everyone she cares about dying or being taken away. And she'd rather die as a slave to Fatima's family than become a servant or slave to the nomads. Which, that's valid. I can't blame her for that, honestly. But again, I also, like, feel bad for Siddhartha, man. Now she's depressed, and we end the episode seeing Siddhartha wandering around, wondering if she'll get shot. But before she can do that, the boy, who can speak both languages, stops her. And she claws him in the face. Valid. But he tries to stop, but he stops her, and he's like, do you want to get the book back? And then then that stops her, because the book was like what Fatima cared about so much. It was like the husband was collecting it for collecting the volumes and all that. And so the boy's like, do you want to get the book back? And Fatima and Siddhartha's like, huh? And that's how they end it. And I made a sad face. But that's how it ends. And the song at the end there is catchy. I don't know if that's the opening or the ending. I don't know if it is an opening or ending. But like, what I do know is that this show is depressing, man. It's so much angst, so much trauma. First episode was definitely meant to like draw you in, make you think, oh, look at the art style, it's so nice and cute. And then blood, gore, blood, a lot of blood, man. Yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up here. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. Seriously, I am very curious as to whether or not you enjoyed these episodes. Also, check out my reaction down below. I highly recommend you do it. You won't be able to get the full depth of my reaction and my thoughts until you watch that 2-hour-long reaction. I highly recommend you do so. Like and subscribe, ding the notification bell, hype the video on the YouTube mobile app. Again, the Patreon's down below. Do all that good jazz. And again, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. What did you think of the episode? What did you think of my thoughts? What did you think of my reaction? What did you think of my theories and questions? Also, please feel free to answer my questions in the comments down below, like explaining things to me like this, like culturally, like what some of the stuff means, if you know. Because like, I could Google it, but I don't want to like Google it and then like get something and I like see something that's like that might be something, but then it turns out it's wrong. So like, I'd rather someone who actually knows, like knows. So like, if they can, like, let me know in the comments down below. But with that said, I am gonna wrap it up here. I've been talking for almost 40 minutes. Oh, but yeah, I will see you next time for episode 3 next week. And so with that said, until next time, my name is Mark. Never stop being yourself. Stay safe out there. And I will see all you incredible people in the very next video.